guys, Civilord here, back again with another top 10 video, and today we'll be counting down my top 10 favorite Mythic Legions of 2021. That is right, 2021 has finally come to a close, and hopefully 2022 won't just be 2020 Part 3, am I right? Or am I right? Time will tell, won't it? But with the new year comes, boys, New Year's resolution, which is a little bit more of a stricter video schedule. I will be doing 5 videos a week as opposed to a video every day, just so I have time to catch up. It's mostly for me. I need the weekends to kind of chillax and whatnot. I think that's reasonable. But the weekends are also going to be preserved for top 10 videos not related to end of the year roundups and whatnot, but to other things like top 10 Build-A-Figures, top 10 DC Classics, top 10 Marvel Legends from Toy Biz, you know, stuff like that. Also, Friday, starting in February, is going to be set aside for older figures, but not quite old enough to be Throwback Thursday material. That is going to be Flashback Fridays. Flashback Fridays is going to be stuff I've either already reviewed on the previous channel, which we don't talk about, or on the first couple of years of this channel, but just done in my more up-to-date style with the size comparisons and the final thoughts, and you know how it is. If you watch this channel, you know how my reviews are set up. You know that not every video was set up that way for quite some time, so this is a chance for me to go and do that. It's mostly to satisfy my OCD, but also get some videos up on this channel that are up on the other channel that you might not know about. So not only is it going to be for that though, it's going to be for just figures that don't qualify for Throwback Thursday, say a DC Classics wave or two, some Toy Biz Legends, stuff like that will be contenders for Flashback Fridays, whether there's already a review that I've done of it or not. So the New Year's resolution, kind of buckle down on the review schedule. There'll be 3 kind of current or more recent figure reviews a week, as well as the Throwback Thursday and the Flashback Friday. That is all going to start in February. Weekends, I will start taking off this month because we got some top 10 stuff to post for the weekend. So I don't think that's too much to ask, but at the end of the day, it's my channel, my rules. So back to the video at hand. The reason I mention all that stuff in this video is because most of you are probably going to see it. The Mythic Legions line, as you know, is kind of the foundation of this channel. I typically get a lot of traffic on a Legions video within a couple of days of posting it. I mean, Sir Owain's just straight dominating. He's not here. He didn't make the list, and he didn't make my honorable mentions, which, spoiler alert, all 5 of these are honorable mentions, with the exception of Krampus. He's just here to be discussed briefly, but Mythic Legions do really, really gangbusters for this channel, and I can't thank the people in the Mythic Legions Cabal, and outside of the Cabal, because I know not all of the Mythic Legions community is a part of that group over on Facebook. Check that out if you haven't already. But I can't thank you guys enough for all the support throughout the past year. It has been a crap year for your boy. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just going to say right now it was less than enjoyable at times. So with that being said, again, I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your support for the content I provided for this line. It is probably my favorite action figure line ever at this current time. I love what the Horsemen are doing with this line, and since then they have branched out into a space line, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't buy a ton of. I bought a couple of figures from that. Maybe I'll try and snag a couple more from an in-stock sale, but I just could not afford it at the time. That and Poxus just went up, which I just placed my pre-order for that. That's $400 down the drain. Well, not down the drain, but I don't have to use on other things, so another reason I'm doing 5 videos a week now. Because, you know, it sucks when you run out of stuff to review. So, with that being said, outside of that, though, we got this Krampus, which we're going to talk about him first because I did get some of the issues I had with that figure resolved. I got a new tail. I got a new crotch piece, which is actually an old crotch piece, I think from a Warrior that I had. extra, and the leg ports are a lot tighter on that. I do need some new hip joints on that guy though. His in and out is a little bit loosey-goosey, a little tricky to stand, but other than that, the basket is also replaced. And shout out to Chris for being cool enough to tie the twine to it, so your boy didn't have to. So shout out to Chris, that man deserves a bonus as far as I'm concerned. And since I am an overlord, I think I have some authority in that matter, but probably not. But Krampus, he's not a Mythic Legion, he is a Figura Obscura, which is a new thing the Horsemen are doing. Those of you who are going to leave a comment saying he is Mythic Legion, look at the box, it doesn't say Mythic Legions on it, so he didn't qualify for this list, so that's the only reason he's not on it. Expect him on the top 10 figures of the year, though, a week or two from now. Not sure when that's going up. I do have top 10 Marvel Legends and top 10 DC Multiverse to do, so there is that. And then there will be a top 10 Motu Origins going up tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But moving on from him, now we have the actual honorable mentions. We're going to start things off with Equidron, who is a very controversial figure due to the hips. The hips on this figure, for whatever reason, were pretty much lodged. You could not rotate the right side, if I'm not mistaken. And it is for that reason alone that he did not make the list, because you had to modify this figure to get the legs to move. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You had to take them apart. You had to shave down some of the notches on the hips themselves and then put them back together. There was no way around that. That's exactly what you had to do. Maybe put a little lubricant in there for good measure, but I'm going to deduct points for necessary modification because it wasn't just mine, it was everyone's. And while this figure is awesome, it did have that issue, which the Horsemen in good nature have gone and fixed for the Vampire Brute and the Half-Giant Legion builder. So even though this guy had its issues, the Horsemen went and righted the wrong and tweaked the tooling for future releases. Maybe we'll be able to get replacement hips for this guy at some point in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if the Horsemen offered that up, because they did offer up neck pieces for Aethon and Balius, right? Which I'm still perplexed as to how to use, which honorable mention goes to the horses. I didn't put the horses or the trolls on my list just because there's not a whole lot to pick from. Aethon's obviously going to be my favorite horse, and my favorite troll has kind of been yet to be re-released. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the Ice Troll. So hopefully All-Stars 5.0, is it? We'll see the Ice Troll 2.0 with the Stone Troll head, or even a Brontis reissue, because I wouldn't mind having him either. Excuse me. But no, the horses and the trolls did not make my list. It is primarily, I think, the $35 standard releases, with the exception of one choice, which is a popular choice amongst the community, I'm sure. But stay tuned to the end of the video for that. But moving on from Equidron, cool figure, but necessary modification made him, it disqualified him from the list. But moving on from him, we have Varthog, who is kind of a surprise pick. He almost made my top 10, just because I busted him out recently for this video. And he's a really awesome figure, man. I forgot how cool that guy was. But I'm not big on that shield, that 4 Horsemen logo shaped shield. It kind of just flops around after a while, and the way I want to display it, it just lends itself to that, so that's not ideal. I think that shield in particular should have like a clip that goes around the bicep, just because it's so gosh darn long. It would just be a little bit more convenient, I'll say, to display. But he does come with the ever famous Warhammer, which I'm always a fan of, and a Buster Sword, a short Buster Sword, not like the broadsword Morgulith of the Fury Clan or come with. Or was it Purplor? Comes with one of those too. But yeah, really cool figure. Comes with new shoulder pads, new torso piece, which is also shared on Magnus over there. We'll talk about in a minute. New belt, and he came with the bare hands and feet, just like another character on my top 10 list, which is more towards the end, so stay tuned for that. But I will say the extra hands and feet from this guy definitely helped enhance my Bog Goblin from All Stars 2.0. For sure, I gave him bare feet, bare hands. Gave him some of the parts from another figure that's on this list. Very, very soon, actually. And just made that figure a little bit cooler, in my opinion. So if I'm able to take parts from a figure and enhance a figure I already have, that always gets a bonus points. But he was just shy of making my top 10 list. He also comes with an extra head too, but I prefer this bearded head because it's something I don't have already on display. That said, I am looking forward to my, what is it, War of the Aether Blade Deluxe Orc Builder, because he comes with the bearded head with the skull face paint, so very much looking forward to that. But moving on from Varthog, we have Magnus, a very popular character from the Erithir wave, which I forgot to mention Varthog is also from. Equidron was his own deal. He was a 20th anniversary special edition figure that the Horsemen did to celebrate their 20 years of business. So shout out to them for that crowning achievement, might I add. But back to Magnus. Really cool figure. I thought the weapons kind of sucked on this figure. They didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I shouldn't say sucked, but they didn't make a whole lot of sense. So I gave him the sword from, I think, Morgulith. It works with his color scheme. I kept him with that axe, even though that's a little bit on the Middle Eastern side. His weapons were very Middle Eastern inspired, which is very strange because he looks like, well, quite frankly, he looks like Fisto from Masters of the Universe, but he kind of looks like the one of the extras on the Tarzan Disney movie to me, with the handlebar mustache and the beard and whatnot, the very short, slick back hair. Very, very Fisto-esque, very early 1900s-esque, and to come with the Middle Eastern-style weapons I just didn't think was very fitting. I would have liked to have seen maybe a broadsword or a halberd or something like that. That said, I completely understand why people really like this figure. It's a nice gold knight base for customs, and again, the head sculpt, the alternate head sculpt, is very, very nice. I prefer the bucket heads, the bucket helmets for my knights, so all my knights have their helmets on. It's just a personal preference of mine. I always prefer the helmet look. Adds a bit of mystique, and I like the red cross paint application, right dab smack in the front of that Templar Knight head sculpt that was cleverly reused here. That said, I do not have a couple of figures from Erithir. I do not have the Red Shield Soldier, or Guard, whatever it's called, and I do not have Hadriana. I really wanted Hadriana, but I did not have the money to pick her up at the time. So, you know, if you want to donate, please feel free to send to the P.O. Box here. No, I'm just kidding. Although I would really like to check out that figure, so if anyone's got one for a decent price, let me know. I would like to pick her and the Red Shield Soldier up, just so I have the complete Erithir wave, because I know you guys probably want me to do an overview of that, which is something I'm debating on doing away with in 2022, is the overviews, because it's just time-consuming, and really some of that stuff I could just tack on to the end of Build-A-Figure videos, if I'm being quite honest, but that's just me. I know some people like it, some people are indifferent towards it. Let me know in the comments below if you like the overviews or not. But Magnus, honorable mention, really cool figure. Wasn't crazy about the accessories, I just didn't think they fit the character that well. But moving on from him, we have the only All-Star that made the honorable mentions. We have Vitus from All-Stars 4.0, which I guess we'll give a shout out to Sir Owain just for doing so well for the channel. I mean, 1,000 views in like less than a month is very impressive for a video on my channel, I might add. Speaking of which, thanks to everybody for getting me close to 400 subscribers. We are at just about 370 as of the time this video is being posted. Hopefully we'll surpass it after it is posted. I can't thank you guys enough. My goal was 500, but we got really close. We were basically 100 away from that, and that's better than I thought we were going to do. Hopefully by the end of 2022 we'll be at 1,000, and I'll be able to monetize and make a little bit of side hustle from this channel. But let's not get ahead of ourselves now. Vitus is a cool figure. I love this figure. I'm very happy to have him. I already had Pixis, so he is a very nice companion piece. But again, very basic weapons because he is an older release. I would have liked a shoulder pad. I would have liked an extra head. I would have liked this, that, and this, and that. But it is an older release. that's just been reissued. It's a figure I know a lot of people wanted. If I really had any major gripes with this figure, other than he suffers from 1.0 syndrome, which is just lack of more unique parts and whatnot. The paint apps on his shield, I wish there was a little bit more contrast there. It's a little hard to make out the lion symbol at times. Unlike Sir Owain, where you can definitely tell there's a big old honking eagle on the front of that big old honking black shield. That said, I like Vitus a little bit more. I'm a little bit more partial to the gladiators just because there's not a whole lot of lines to offer up gladiators. Clavius is one I know that's very popular amongst people who don't have him yet, and I hope that one day he does get reissued in an All-Stars wave. Maybe not too soon, because I still want Clavian, and I want Sir Ilgar to wrap up my congregation of Necronominus. But, with that being said, that is the 5 honorable mentions I have sitting here, as I bought the camera, excuse me. Sorry about that. But that is my 5 honorable mentions. Krampus, not really an honorable mention, just kind of got him out to talk about, but other than that, we did also receive some Motu homages. Lord Dragul and Darina Honoris. I didn't count them as 2021 releases because they technically came out in 2020 because you were able to get them through the PowerCon in-stock sale relatively easily. I think they were up for a few hours. Same with this Krampus. This Krampus was actually relatively easy to obtain as well, which is more than I could say for a lot of in-stock sales. But that's just the name of the game, right? But on top of that, I think we also had Mephitor and Bryophytus, the other two Motu homages, which are cool figures. They just weren't strong enough to make the top 10. And before I get into the top 10, just some ground rules. The rule number 1, the main rule, it's pretty obvious. I have it on all my top 10s. Had to come out this year, so again, Dragul and Honoris are disqualified. Otherwise, Dragul could have possibly cracked the top 10. Not very high, mind you, but he might have cracked it. Rule number 2, I gotta have it. So if I don't have it, it's automatically not eligible to be on this list. So Sir Gerard, I know that's a cool figure, but I didn't attend Legions Con, and I didn't try to fight all you guys who I know are quicker than me and the draw to try and get that during the in-stock sale over on Legion's shop, Jeremy Gerard's site, and Joe Vitteri's, I believe. So I do not have him. He is not eligible to be on this list. It is a cool figure, yes, but again, I don't have it, so I can't put it on the list. If you want to help me out and hook me up with one that's different, let me know. You know, I'm always down to offers and whatnot. Just don't charge me up the nose for something, you know. But I'm more than willing to wait for the standard release when that comes out. Probably sooner rather than later at this point. I believe they got him in the studio right now. But rule number 3, I've had to have already reviewed it. This is something new I've added to my top 10 videos. I've had to have already reviewed the figure in the past year. Because if I haven't reviewed it, you really don't know how much I like it or don't like it. Therefore, why the heck would I waste time putting on a top 10 list? Unless I'm scrounging to get the top 10 list posted for a certain day, more than likely I'm going to already have a review of one of the figures on the top 10 list already posted. So that's more of a rule for me. If I don't have a review up, I really don't know how good or bad a figure is. Kind of helps me determine certain decisions, you know. And rule number 4, I have to like it. It's pretty obvious. I'm not going to put something on my list just because everyone else likes it. I know Magnus and Vitus are very popular characters, but they just weren't doing it for me as far as cracking my top 10. So with that being said, as I always say, keep the comments civil, because while my top 10 may be different from yours, I'm willing to respect your top 10 list if your number 1 through 10 is different than mine. So therefore, you should be able to respect my top 10 list if my top 10 is different from yours. So, you know, there's no sense of arguing about toys. At the end of the day, that's really petty and stupid, and I'm not down for that. And I'll just remove your comment and block your butt if you're gonna be salty. So don't be spicy in the comments. Keep things civil. As I always say, let me know what your top 10 is. And without further ado, let's get things started with the number 10 spot. Coming in at the number 10 spot is the Hellfire Goblin from the Erithir wave, because this guy Gives you many different ways to play, coming with an alternate head, hands, and even tongue. So you can have him in full-blown Gene Simmons mode or retracted Gene Simmons mode. Pick your poison there. And he also comes with an arsenal of weapons, like the Brother Mandibulus staff, spear, sword, blade thing, a bone sword, a bow, and arrows, as well as a removable helmet, and some new armor pieces, particularly in the torso and maybe shoulder pauldrons. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, really solid figure from a really solid wave. At the number 9 spot is the infamous Blue Devil himself, and no, I am not talking about the DC Universe Classics figure, which funny enough was also worked on by the fine folks over at Four Horsemen Studios, but of course I am talking about the mighty Zaza from All Stars 3.0, and with the recent unveiling of the Poxus wave, I'm hoping we get to see this guy's twin brother Azar in a future All Stars wave. All Stars 5.0, maybe, please? Fingers crossed. He's got to make the poll first, but once he does, I know who I'm voting for. But with that said, I am happy to add this guy to my Legions collection because he's been a figure I've wanted for quite some time but could never afford the aftermarket prices on him, much like many All-Stars release that's come out this past year. A lot of Grail figures have been crossed off the list, guys. I'm looking forward to the next couple of years to see what else the All-Stars line has to bring to the table. But with that said, I really like the colors on this guy. I like the Hindu-inspired tattoos. A little bit basic in the weapons department, but the Poxus wave does have some weapons packed, so maybe you could spruce this guy up a bit. At the number 8 spot is Baronrologa, also from All Stars 3.0, which if you haven't guessed it by now is most likely my favorite All Stars wave we've gotten thus far. Had 4 really strong re-releases in it, and 2 pretty solid Motu homages, and my first troll ever. That said, while this is, in my opinion, inferior to the version of this character we will be receiving in the Erithir wave, which will hopefully show up sometime this year, if production and shipping allow, that is. Fingers crossed. I really think this is a solid figure regardless, because you can make him a general type character for your vampires. I really like having him displayed with this vampire knight unhelmeted head. This makes him look like a really awesome medieval style Nosferatu. Love having his helmet off to the side there, and the 8-bit King Diamond logos on the shield and the chest give him some bonus points, if I'm being quite honest. At number 7 is the mighty Taurean, also from the infamous All Stars 3.0, which, don't worry, we're going to be taking a break from that wave for a little bit and come back to it towards the end. But with that being said, I am super duper happy to have finally added a Minotaur to my Legions collection this past year. Taurean in particular was the one that I really wanted to get my hands on, and thanks to All Stars 3.0 I was finally able to do that. I'm hoping that I'll have another chance at Asterion, maybe a 2.0 version or something later down the line, but until then I'm completely content with this figure, albeit with the unveiling of the Poxus wave they did show that new brute scale body. I would maybe like to see some Minotaurs, maybe even this guy in Asterion, reworked to fit on that body type, because I think the proportions work a little better for the Minotaurs as far as a race go. What do you guys think? At number 6 is Malafar from the Erithir wave. We return to the Erithir wave for the number 6 spot, my top 10 Legions of 2021, because this guy, much like the Hellfire Goblin, comes with many different ways to play. You can change him from this evil little demon imp character to a little dark knight kind of Legion builder type character, which I'm all for display options, and this guy and the Hellfire Goblin are definitely no exception to that rule. Even Varthog, who's just an honorable mention, give you enough parts to make a completely different character, and when that is something that's on the table, that definitely gives them bonus points for yours truly. But of all the figures from the Erithir wave that could do that, this is by far my favorite. I love this little guy. Not only is he named after a real demon, Malphus, at least as far as I know he is. I mean, pretty similar, right? He's just really freaking cool looking, down to the wings, that awesome head sculpt, the tail, which I have plugged in the right way for once. Yeah, it turns out the 2.0 crotch pieces have a boom boom hole of their own. Who knew? And, of course, the demon standard weapon of choice, the mighty pitchfork. This guy is definitely one of my favorite demon characters in the Legions line thus far. At number 5 is the first entry from All-Stars 4.0 on my top 10 Legions of 2020 list, and that is, of course, the only guy I know that's more toxic than any internet troll out there, Scaphoid. Whether it's the insane neon green paint job they gave this guy that's more than likely reflective to all matters of black lights, or the wash they gave this guy to make it look like he crawled right out of a toxic waste dump. This guy is no stranger to cool factor. I absolutely love this figure, and was again one I really wanted to get my hands on but could not afford the aftermarket prices, so I'm very glad that All Stars gave me a chance to pick this guy up and add him to my congregation of Necronomnus, which, if you guys don't know me by now, the skeletons are my bread and butter. When it comes to this line, they are my favorite faction, and they are going to be showing up again on this list. So with that being said, let us move on to the Big Four. Kicking off the Big Four of my top 10 Mythic Legions figures of 2021 is the second and final entry from All-Stars 4.0, and that's going to be none other than Tibius. That's right, this guy has been not only a grail figure of mine for this line for quite some time now. He definitely has given me some General Grievous vibes with the twin swords, twin daggers, and even the cape and color choices in some areas. But I also really love this closed mouth skull head sculpt with the racing stripes. I don't have a lot of skeletons with this head, so he definitely helps add a bit of variety to my congregation of Necronomnus, and joins Brother Mandibulus alongside the number 3 spot on this list in the Triad of Death. Who's it gonna be? Stay tuned to find out. At number 3, and if you were paying attention at all to the number 4 entry to my top 10 Mythic Legions figures of 2021 list just a few seconds ago, you knew that Malleus from All Stars 3.0 was going to take the number 3 spot, because not only does he help complete the core triad of awesome / death with Brother Mandibulus and Morgulith, he completes my triad of awesome / death with Brother Mandibulus and Tibius, the 3 kind of traditionally colored skeleton warrior characters of the congregation of Necronomnus. This guy, what can I say about this guy? He's Walter Hagen approved for sure, about 100 times over in fact. Shout out to Walter of the Mythic Legions Cabal. But he is just a really solid and awesome figure. Those 2 axes are going to do so much damage on the battlefield, it's not even funny. And not only do you get them as is, you also get 2 extra axe heads to make them that much more deadly. So what else can I say about this guy other than he's a great addition to the Mythic Legions line, and a character I know a lot of people, including myself, have been wanting for some time, and thanks to All Stars, we were finally able to add him to our Legions collections. At number 2 is one that's been at war with Malleus for this spot for quite some time, but at the end of the day, there is no denying that Erithir from the Erithir wave is taking the number 2 spot on my top 10 Mythic Legions of 2021 list, because he's just undeniable, man. He's metal as all get out. He's got giant wings, giant horns, fire coming off his head, gauges if you're into that, a big old honkin' flaming sword, guar shoulder pads, and a belt buckle to match. And then, of course, there is his mighty steed, Aethon, who I'm not including on this list because I'm not including horses or trolls. I said that in the beginning, but in this case, you can't have one without the other. So Aethon is going to be an honorable mention in this case. That, and he is my favorite of the 2 horses between him and Malleus, so I'm being quite honest. But we ain't talking about him. We're talking about the big bad red man himself, Erithir. Well, orangish red. He's not completely red, but you know what I mean. He is awesome. He is Erithir. He's the reason most people picked up the wave, and he is my number 2 most favorite Mythic Legion of 2021. But who's number 1 gonna be? That is the question. And my number 1 Mythic Legions figure of 2021 is gonna be none other than Belphegor from the Erithir wave. And sometimes in life, less is more, and while this guy is not the big bad Erithir in any way, I like him a heck of a lot more than I ever could Erithir. Not only because he gives me some Lord of Darkness vibes, which if you know me, I'm a big Tim Curry fan, and that is one of my favorite roles he's ever done, but he also reminds me a heck of a lot of my original character that I created as a wee lad back in 6th grade, Blade Killer. This guy looks like my original character, Blade Killer, almost down to the T, and the only way that this guy could be dethroned, not only from being my favorite Mythic Legion of this past year, but of all time, is if we got a variant of this guy that looked even more like Blade Killer than this guy does. I mean, let's be honest, it's a super biased opinion, but when you experience that feeling that, hey, there's a figure out there that looked like something you created that was created unintentionally to look like that thing, it's a pretty good feeling, man. And it saves you a lot of money from paying someone for making a custom of it, so there is that too. So it is with that super biased opinion that I named Belphegor my number 1 Mythic Legions figure of 2021. Don't worry, it'll be popping up on another top 10 list in a couple of weeks with another entry on this list, but I don't want to spoil everything for you, so stay tuned for that. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed my top 10 Mythic Legions of 2021. What were your top 10 Legions of the year? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, don't forget to, again, comment, like, and subscribe. If you are so inclined, please hit that notification bell so you know whenever I upload more content to the channel, because we got to show that algorithm who's boss, right? And if you haven't already, hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is. And don't forget to hit up the Mythic Legions Cabal over on Facebook and or Instagram. Be a part of the community. Join in all the Mythic Legions fun, because there's going to be a heck of a lot more coming in 2022. And with that being said, until next time, I'll catch you guys later.